Yep.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to HomeGames. It's 12:30. It's Wednesday, and where else would you rather be? Don't answer that question. I'm back on deck after some others very ably taking care of things. Rebecca's session with Pete last week was brilliant. I don't know if everybody caught it, but you absolutely should. And there's some kind of unwritten. Maybe it's written. I don't know. It's written. That's why. Maybe there's a book somewhere that says people who are maybe not presenting home games every week will have horrible tech issues. And Rebecca battled her way brilliantly through that. And yeah, that session with Pete is absolutely worth catching up with. But this week will also be worth catching up with. So even if you're here, watch it back again. I can tell you it's going to be a good one. I'm joined by the irrepressible Mr. Ola Abdul of Fundment. Ola, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fair to middling, mate. Fair to middling. I would class myself as upper second quartile, or possibly lower first quartile. But, you know, for me, that's not bad. Usual kind of housekeeping. It's going to be quite a platformy session today, I think, Ola, isn't it? We're going to do quite a lot of platformy stuff. So if you've got questions on kind of platforms generally, we're going to talk technology, we're going to talk big companies, little companies, all that kind of stuff. Then as ever, we'll watch the chat. So when you see me looking away and ignoring Ola like this, I'm not being rude, although I might be being rude as well. But I'm not particularly being rude. I'm just looking at the chat. And we have a ask a question button at the bottom as well, which we'll both see. And we'll do our best to answer your questions. The little link that I've popped in the chat for any of you that haven't heard this a million times before, I'm sorry if you have, is just if you've got any stuttering or anything on your feed. If you give that a wee click, it will delay your feed a little bit and magically sort at least 48.6% of your problems out. It might be more than 48.6. It might be 92%, which was the approval rate for the James Hay takeover of Nucleus, which got its vote this morning. So that's just broken in the trades just in time to go into the update this week. So we might touch on corporate activity and that kind of stuff as well, Ola, if you're feeling up to all that kind of stuff.
I'll do my best.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, listen, let's crack on. We'll be together for 45 minutes as ever, and no subjects off limits. If Ola ever feels that he's not comfortable answering something, I know Ola a little bit, he'll just tell you. And that'll be that. So listen, we've had quite a few platform chiefs on HomeGames, some from bigger platforms, some from smaller platforms, some from in-betweenies. Fundment is a platform that until, I don't know, a year and a half ago, I didn't know that well. And I suspect that some of our viewers probably don't know you all that well as well. So in time-honored fashion, why don't you give us a pitch just for a minute or two, and then we'll pick out some interesting bits to talk about.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So Fundment is a wrap platform on a mission to transform the investment experience for financial advisors and their clients. We believe modern platform technology is designed for advisors to gain more efficient processes, which in turn we believe drives better outcomes for clients. The platform itself began life only about 3 years ago, around the middle of 2018. When we, carried out a review of the platform market, and we saw an industry with poor technology culture, with deep reliance on outsourced technology that in most cases far removed from the requirements of advisors. So it quickly became clearer to us that if the platform industry is to evolve and keep pace with the changing needs of advisors and clients, a clean break from the past will be needed. And through our proprietary technology, that's exactly what Fundment has been doing. Proprietary technology means we're able to innovate faster, we're able to evolve quicker, we're not beholden to external architecture, which can be cumbersome and quite difficult to maintain. And it generally means we're not, competing with the multiple and often conflicting demands of, so many stakeholders who are, on the same underlying technology. So advisors genuinely have a real chance of impact of the development of the platform. And over the last 2 years, that has been the case. So yeah, that is Fundment in a nutshell. But I'm sure as we go through this session, people will learn more about us.
Well, who knows? Who knows? We can review later and find out if that's the case. But listen, I mean, there's loads in there, right? So I mean, I've known you for a while, so I know you're not shy about getting into perhaps talking about some of the sins of the past from the sector and all that stuff. And we will come into some of that, I think, because there's some really interesting contentions you've made there about the link between efficiency and client outcomes, about how things are broken and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to come back to a lot of that. But you talked a bit there about proprietary technology. So let's do that one first, right?
Yeah.
So you I guess you set this up a few years ago. You could have bought in something, but you chose not to. So tell me why you take that road of building rather than renting.
Yeah. Well, as I said earlier, we just looked at the market, trying to understand exactly where it is. I think, we should probably go back and maybe perhaps I tell a bit more about myself and the team and how we sort of got to where we are today.
Sure.
So, most people, obviously, financial services is, when you're sort of growing up, going to schools, you don't really think about what job you're going to do, really. But at university, taking a degree in economics, you start to learn a little bit more about the world we are living. It's a very nice subject. And you get introduced to some foundational subjects in financial services. After that, I joined a company whose recent name change has become a bit of a widespread.
Would you ever consider removing the vowels from Fundment?
Probably not.
Fundment? That would work. Actually, do you know what though? I think that could work. I thought, of all the companies.
I'm not sure I'll get away with that. I think there are people within the team who are much more serious-minded than myself. I'll probably want to do it, but I'm sure I'll be overruled if I ever try something like that. So
it's not bad. Honestly, but genuinely, I think it's not bad.
You didn't remove that "you" there.
I did.
You have. There you go. That might actually work. I don't think people know.
It's not. I mean, it's genuinely not bad. Do you know though? I'm kind of out on a limb a little bit because I don't mind the Aberdeen one so much. That's a bit. Of a guilty secret of mine. I actually don't mind the rebrand.
I actually joined Aberdeen Asset Management straight after university. I know they later went on to merge with Standard Life, but I was not. I had left by the time they did that. So with Aberdeen, you learn everything. I certainly learned everything about fund management business, going around various businesses. Primarily working in business management, working very closely with senior people. Very, very good training ground for me. After that, then I joined BlackRock, the large global asset manager, and I spent time in the exchange-traded funds business, the iShares business. And one of the things, as part of that, became a bit of an ETF evangelist, if there is such a thing. And why not? ETFs are great products. They're cheap, they're efficient, and all that stuff. But advisors in the UK weren't using it. So the question, therefore, is, unlike the traction ETFs are getting in the US and Europe, why are they not using it here? Then you realize, well, it's because the platform infrastructure isn't there to support access to these products. I remember co-funds notably never supported it. Some platforms today still don't do it. And those of them who do, they make it quite prohibitive in terms of charges. So advisors just won't touch it. So back then our thinking was, why don't we build a platform that would solve that problem? So we started to look at the platform market, and then we realized, oh my God, there's so much to fix in this market. Its technology adoption is not very great. Everyone just assumes the easiest way to enter the market is to buy, outsourced technology and try and, put your own distribution and branding on top of it, forgetting actually that the ultimate client experience that you deliver is a huge part of that is actually the back-end capability that you've got that many advisors may not see. It's the things that happen behind the scenes, the transactions that platforms are processing every day, and all of that stuff, if they are sitting on, on an external infrastructure that you really don't understand, where you can innovate around, where you just can do the things a platform should do very well. That is not the way to go. So we decided, there and then that if we're going to enter the platform market, we're going to have to build everything from the ground up. And we love it. It's our real passion, actually, building technology. And some of the things we've done over the last 18 months, advisors who are using it have had nothing but very, very strong, strongly positive feedback for us. And going forward, there's a lot more stuff to come.
Okay, cool. So George has a wee jab here, as he often does. George, how you doing? About ETF usage, and it is something that crossed my mind as well. Is for very active portfolio managers, I can see that intraday liquidity and that kind of stuff from ETFs is really important. But for most retail IFAs,
they don't need it.
They don't. And I remember one firm saying to me, as I was asking them about ETF usage or whatever, saying, "Look, we can get a mutual fund at 7 basis points that covers major markets or major indices anyway.
Yeah.
Why do we care?" So
you're right. That's one of the things we learned. Intraday liquidity, they don't particularly need it, but there are still some pockets of. There's ETFs. If you decide, we're not talking about ETFs today because But ETFs itself, they are not a substitute for all the other products you got. They can go together with it. We're talking about portfolio diversification now and just finding the best tool for the job. In some cases, that might be the best product for the job. And they're just as cheap as index products. So if they're just as cheap as index products, and you also get the opportunity to, get, efficient trading, that's not bad.
Yeah, no, fair point.
But you're right. It's not particularly needed. Advisors have other options to do what they need to do. And in any case, index products have, they've become as comprehensive as ETFs as well. So we realized all that, and we decided, okay, we're just going to build a platform anyway that will capture, the requirements that we believe advisors have.
Okay, so I guess the arguments kind of for and against renting or building are pretty well worn, and we've heard them a number of times. I guess the kind of key benefit for you guys is twofold. One, I guess you potentially build more value into your business, but also you get control of what gets built and when, and that's cool. But I wonder is there an inflection point then as you grow, because you're not a new platform anymore, but you're relatively early in your journey. You got lots and lots of years ahead, and time to gather assets and all that stuff. Is there a point at which it starts to become cumbersome to have built it? I'm thinking that in a life cycle, I don't know, it could be 10 years, 20 years, 30, whatever it is, at some point, do you not then end up having to say, boys and girls, we need a root and branch rebuild here because technology's moved on, the world's moved on. And whereas if you were signed up with one of the outsourcing kind of guys, that would potentially be taken care of, and regulatory stuff would be getting swept up. I guess what I'm asking is there a kind of sine wave or some kind of curve that for firms like yours that you can see where it makes sense?
I don't really think so, because when you're building technology, you're actually not building it and then it's done and you just move on and that's it, done. And then you come back in 2 or 5 years and say, oh, we have to re-platform or we have to upgrade, which is what the industry has done. I think building a technology is a marathon, really. So you are always, iterating. You're always adding new, features to the product. You're always doing what, software engineers would call refactoring, whereby you're sort of looking at your code base, you're sort of improving things at all times. So if you're doing that, and if you've got a very strong team behind you, it is unlikely you get to that inflection point, as you call it, where your technologies are out of date. And then you have to sort of say, oh, it's gone now, write everything off and start again. What you find, and that would be, I mean, if you look at some of the companies that we all admire in, outside financial services, we've actually changed, so many, products and things we now take for granted. Amazon, an example, this was a company that's been around, 20, 30 years. But I don't think anyone would say Amazon's technologies are out of date. And why is that? Because the way you build this product is to carry on innovating. You just don't stop. You're taking market feedback, you're sort of using the best technology that you can get. And if you've got a strong team behind you with, who truly, truly love building technology, who understands it, who sort of lives and breathes, building technology products, that certainly won't be the case.
One of the things that I've kind of really enjoyed over the last couple of years is wine. But another thing that I've really enjoyed is that there seems to be a breed of kind of platforms, and not just platforms, but other kind of stuff coming through that's kind of built by people who are into tech rather than people who are like me, an old lag from Life Co world or whatever. Now you're a bit of an old lag from fund management world. I'm not that old, obviously, or a lag.
I get it. Don't worry.
Yeah. You know what I mean. But what is Fundment then? Is it a tech business or is it a financial services business? What's its center of gravity, do you think?
That's a very good question, actually. Fundamentally, we would say we are first a tech company, although we like investment as well. And obviously, my background and those of other guys in the team, I can go through, some of the guys in the team have actually run their own fund for large asset managers. Some of them have run global teams. I've had my own experiences. So we can discuss investments with you for as long as you wish. But we love technology. Technology is exactly what drives us. I think the possibility of where platforms could go, the sort of capability that platforms could deliver to the hands of advisors, and what that can do in terms of what advisors actually want to deliver to their clients, just excites us. And we like to say we're probably 80% tech, maybe not 100%, but we also are very comfortable discussing investment with yourself. But more importantly is that we are just not building the technology and then say to advisors, over to you, like some, as you say, out and out technology companies would do. Over to you, get on with it. We would operate the software ourselves every day, and we'll be, of course, interacting with advisors on what they like about it, what they don't like about it, what they would like to change, and their feedback and everything else. So we're there with them, providing that support, but over the phone or whichever way they choose to engage with us. Making sure that we're well aligned. But back to your question, we like technology, and that would never go away from us. That is the core of what we're all about as a business.
Cool. Matthew's asked a good question here, I think, which is who are you trying to rival and overtake? Is it Transact?
I like that question.
Yeah. Does Matthew work for you by any chance?
No.
Hello, Matthew. But it's a good question. Thank you,
Matthew. That's a really good one. Yes, definitely. Transact, undoubtedly is one of the very few success in the industry, going back, 30 years since the wrap platform business emerged in the UK, and they've been very successful. Advisors love them. Matthew obviously asking who are we trying to rival and overtake is an example of that. So advisors love them, and also they've gone through public listing a few years ago, and they're also very loved by the market as well, which is great. That's what you want. But we genuinely believe that he said, no, I'm a paraplanner. I've been on the dark side. Never again.
Good man.
Yeah, we're definitely going up against. We believe we have already the product breadth that you get on Transact, and we'll also match them as well on the support that you get, because they're known for offering great support to advisors. So we believe we will match them. You get the same level of support from us, but we fundamentally believe that we have the better platform functionality than Transact, as we should. Obviously, we're new, as technology is all being developed over the last few years compared to what they had, which was built out 10, 15 years ago. So yeah, we definitely are going up against them. They're one of the places that we look to in terms of what they're doing and how we could improve on that.
Good. And what about the I don't know, the sort of other newer generation type providers? Because there's a few coming through now that we look at. There's well, not really live yet, but it's guys like Adalpha that just got picked up by AJ Bell. They're kind of interesting. We've got guys like Hubwise and Maltrees and people like that are kind of coming into the space with more recent builds. So they weren't part of that big wave that came in 06, 07, 08, or even earlier in the case of kind of Fidelity, Scandia, and those guys.
I agree with. I think the way we look at competition in the marketplace here, we look at the established players, led by Transact, of course, and we like to say with Transact here, we sort of match them on support and sort of wrappers and products and so that you need from them, but then surpass them on technology and of course pricing and the rest of it. And the sort of upstarts, some of them have actually been around a long time, but they're sort of rebranding themselves and so on and so forth. We think, we as a young company, it's unusual to find startups, already, with the breadth of wraps that are being run in-house that we do already. We run our own pension in-house. I don't believe any of those companies you mentioned do that. And that is a measure of the investment that we've put into the platform, but also our commitment to the client experience, because we just don't believe anything that is core to the platform should be run externally. They should all be run in-house. They should all be tightly integrated with the platform. You've mentioned all these guys. We know they're all depending on some third parties to do this for them, to run pension payrolls, So it's an interesting market, and competition is good. I think it forces all of us to raise our game. But we do believe, while we believe we have superior platform capability compared to the established players, we also will surpass the upstarts in terms of the product sets that we've got. I think you're getting a lot of questions coming in.
We are getting some questions flying in. So I'm gonna get through all of them. So George, don't worry, I will get to yours, but I'm actually gonna try and pick up from Matthew first, I think. Thank you, George.
I think it's looking like he could be a fan of Fundment.
George is a cheeky boy sometimes. But Matthew, this kind of ties into what I was going to ask you next, right? So I'll see if I can, through interviewing skill, weave it all together in a kind of magical way that will wow everyone. Basically, you've said a couple of times now that there's a lot of stuff you don't like, right? That you think things could be better and all that kind of stuff. Define for us things, right? What's broken in the platform sector? Because I love disruption, and I love the idea of people sticking it to the established players, and of course the establishment in platforms is only 20 years old. That was fast, right? Before that, Lifeco's 150 years of dominance. Platforms 15, 20 years, and now suddenly guys like you are coming in and smashing things up, which is cool. Yeah. But this is still a sector that looks after nearly £500 billion of client money. So it must be doing something okay. So what's so bad? What's broken?
I think, as Matthew said in his question there, he would love a platform that does the basics well, that meets the needs of the majority. And the industry seems to make things complex. And the complexities in the way a lot of the platforms work, there's still a huge amount of paper-based processes within the account management, not just account opening. Some of them may not even necessarily be, paperwork that advisors have to do, but which still affects the client experience. There's still a huge amount of manual processes there. So the things that when we say we are in to improve the platform experience, it's not necessarily trying to sort of build the user front end that looks pretty. It's the back end process automation that ultimately impacts how fast things gets done. How quickly can you invest client money? How quickly can you pay income? We've seen some, places where it could take the best part of a month to actually, process income, that is coming into clients' portfolio. That is just not acceptable in a world where you could sort of automate a lot of those. We fundamentally believe 90 to 95% of what platforms do can be automated. And if you can do that, you will find the experience and the efficiency that advisors get will be superior and far better than what we all have today. And those are examples of what we're doing at Fundment. We are also every day looking at how advisors interact with our platform, trying to find where the pain points are, what exactly do they like, can they find the things they want to do on the platform quickly without spending too much time faffing about or having to, call us or just being more efficient generally. And as part of that, we introduced what we call hot buttons on the platform. We introduced hot buttons on the platform, which effectively places every key actions advisors want to do. Want to deposit, it's there in front of you, click on it. You want to transfer, it's there, click on it. Without having to sort of, so usability, spend time trying to improve that. But more importantly, though, is the process automation that is, sort of making things happen behind the scenes.
So I'm not missing the stuff that everyone's put in the comments. Thank you for all of that, and I will come back to it. But I want to just probe a little bit more there, because I think when you're building stuff, there's kind of two schools of thought, right? One says if a client, by which I mean the advisor here, in the first instance, wants something, they want it. They don't want it for fun or for kicks. It's because they need it, because this is a business to business tool. So therefore, even if we've got the paper over the cracks for a bit, we do it and then we'll sweep up the automation later on. Second school of thought says no, if we can't ship it fully automated, and then it, not how can I, the best way I've heard this described, right, is one is kind of MVP, a minimum viable product would be, there is a form or you do have to call up, but we'll sort that eventually. The second one is an MLP, which is a minimum lovable product, which would say, well, we actually build the automation or we don't do it at all, because there's too much, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? And things don't get swept up. Which one are you?
MVP, MLP. I know some people actually saw that MLP. That sounds like something a consultant would come up with.
It does sound exactly like something a consultant would come up with. Yeah. One did, and I saw something they did, and I thought it was tolerable, so I nicked it.
Honestly, we just build products. We just we just listen to what advisors are telling us. We will all do together, think about how we're going to do it, get our designers on it to sort of mock up the product, get our back-end people, there to sort of think about the business logic and everything else, build it, test it. We're always sort of pushing features into production, sometimes every day, sometimes every few days. But after they've gone through a lot of QA and testing and all that stuff, and then, get advisors to try, and then people will use it, and usually that's it. Of course, minimum viable product, as people say, that is still actually is very. I mean, when you're starting off with building a platform, you don't go from. For example, we've evolved ourselves over the last, say, 18 months, particularly. I mean, the Fundment you see today is not what it was 18 months ago, and the Fundment you see in 2 years' time is not going to be the one today. Because we will continue to add more features to it, we'll continue to evolve, we'll take feedback, and then the products will get better. But minimum lovable product, not sure about that one.
It's good consultancy speak, that's for sure. Also good consultancy speak is prod and MiFID 2 and all that kind of stuff, and target market clearly comes into that. So Paul asked a very compliance forward question. So in terms of any IFAs watching this or paraplanners or whatever else thinking, I'll have a look at these guys. What is the sweet spot? What kind of clients is Fundment good for and bad for?
We obviously prefer firms who want and who truly appreciate a platform that is genuinely digital. Believe it or not, we've had people ask us, can you guys just give us some offline forms, so that we could do this, and then we're like, no, we're not. We're not into that sort of thing. So we like firms who are genuinely digital. We've built the platform as well to be really, it doesn't mean advisors cannot go off piste and do custom portfolio and buy bespoke funds and the rest of it. The platform is particularly good. The platform is actually at its best when people use the NPS functionality that we've built within the platform. Now, that NPS may well be run internally on an advice model. It could be outsourced to an investment manager. Advisors may actually take a look at the Fundment NPS. Quite frankly, they're pretty good as well if they want to. But they're welcome to do wherever they wish in terms of their investment proposition. Effectively, we believe, the platform is designed to support centralized investment proposition very, very well. So that is the core target market. But of course, if people they want to buy equities, they want to, buy funds and all that stuff, they can use the platform as well. But I don't think necessarily all the sort of process automation we have on auto trading, managing cash and all that stuff, you'll be seeing the true benefit of it if you're not, using all of that centralized investment feature that have been built.
That's good. And so I guess that feeds through from firms, but to clients as well. So it's clients who require that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
If we're getting our MiFID hats on. MiFID would also ask you to say, not just you won't get the best of it, but it's an interesting challenge for very broad propositions like platforms. Who's it not suitable for?
We don't think the platform would be suitable for people who want to do the traditional wealth management styled stuff. It wouldn't be suitable for people who want to buy alternative products like venture capital and that sort of thing. But it would be suitable for people who want to just buy bread and butter investment for their pension, for their ISA, for their GIA, for their offshore bond, onshore bond, just build simple, sensible portfolios, using the sort of mainstream, asset managers, or occasionally stocks within that, and equities as you were. Somebody said, how much does all this wonderfulness cost a client or us? And I think we'll probably come back to that. So those are the people that the platform will be suitable for. People, if you just want to build mainstream solutions, we are in there. But if you want to do alternative stuff, then Fundment will be the right platform.
Okay. So we'll do another couple of little Fundmenty bits, but then I want to talk about the industry more broadly again as we kind of come towards the end of our time. So first things first, come on then. Matthew asks about price. So let's do it. What's it cost to use Fundment?
I think our pricing is on Platform Analyzer.
It is on Platform Analyzer. Thank you, Ola. Well done. Yeah.
So I would refer you to that. I'm sure he's a subscriber. He should be.
I hope Matthew's a subscriber. I'm sure he probably is.
Yeah. So, does that answer his question? Or you want me to elaborate on it?
Well, I think
generally we think we are, we're not aiming to be the cheapest on the platform market. That is not what we're there for. But we are one of the competitive in terms of pricing. We would, be competitive as much as we think. But we'll balance that against being sustainable as a platform. We've gone through an exercise, with, a number of firms, going through, also sort of re-platforming from a platform where they were paying fixed fee, coming to ourselves, where obviously, we're not going to offer a fixed fee model. But we just think, there's a bit of a gimmicky pricing going on in the marketplace. People are having a cap fee, but then they'll start charging again when asset goes past a certain level, or they cap the range of services you can offer, and so on and so forth. So we'd like to say, let's do it with all that. Let's just have a simple, low-cost basis point pricing that is fair, that reflects the cost of operating and building a high-quality platform, and which allows us to not just continue to evolve and innovate on the service, but also deliver, better returns for the investors who are putting money in the business.
Shan's a user.
Yeah.
Hi, Shan. Thank you. Shan visits these things from time to time.
Fundment as an alternative. That's good to know.
It is. You'll be pleased with that.
Do on illustrations and art. Okay, that is a very good feedback, Sean. I think, we also have already engaging with us, and there are some, new features that we are bringing out. I'd particularly like to know what somebody says smooth. That was Nick Lincoln.
Nick's one of our cheekier viewers. I think that was about Platform Analyzer when you gave us a little nudge for that.
Okay, good.
But
so I think
output's always a thing.
Yeah, it's good to know that she likes what we're doing, and as I said, we're always taking feedbacks on, and we're actually enhancing some of our reporting. Some of the reports we've got now were the ones we went to the market with. Talking about minimum viable products, as you say. So Sean, by all means, please contact me directly. I'd definitely like to hear some of your suggestions.
Okay.
On that.
And that's quite an interesting thing. And so a couple of other things that are not really anything to do with Fundment, but we're just interested in what you have to say on a couple of things. One of them is actually kind of corporate activity in the sector, which I see a couple of guys are getting onto there in the chat. I'll come back to that. Before we do that, though, Sean talking about reporting and visuals and stuff, illustrations a bit less. I definitely seeing an appetite amongst some firms, not everybody, but a good number of smart firms saying, well, actually, do you know what? I kind of want those to look like I want them to look, and I can't really expect any platform just to do what I want because there's hundreds of us as advisors, thousands, and it's daft. So I will do my own thing, but I'm going to need the data out, please, in a nice, crisp, clean format that I can do that. So that kind of, to me, surfaces particularly in reporting, which might be business information for the firm or for client-facing reporting. Do you see that? Do you have that kind of integrative approach where you're happy to send stuff out, or are you more, no, it's on us to try and build for all the different
absolutely not. We have a Fundment API that we are spending a lot of money on, that we've been building out. So if there are people out there who genuinely believe they could do better than us, and they are willing to invest the money, the time, and all that stuff in building their own reporting portal and all that stuff, by all means, you can consume the Fundment API and use that to build your own products on top of our services. That is absolutely fine. We don't have a problem with that. Just as we will provide advisor support when advisors are using us, we also provide developer support, which helps those who are looking to build services on the Fundment API. So yes, if there are people who are considering that option, feel free to reach out to us.
And do you expect, I mean, you also know plenty of firms and see lots of interesting folk. Do you think that's something firms will do more and more of, or do you think it's a bit of a minority sport for those who are technologically minded?
It's hard to tell. I think one would imagine that the bigger the firms are, the more likely they may want to sort of invest the resources, to take charge of the client experience. After all, they know their clients best than we do. But I think firms, perhaps, don't have the resources, may well just say, what, I'll either use what you guys are giving me, or I would, use one of those portal that are out there, to which we have already integrated anyway. I mean, there are some names out there that we already have integration with: Intelligent Office, Money Info, and Kiro, you name it. So some of them will sort of use that to drive their reporting and anything else they need from a client reporting standpoint. So yeah, we're sort of flexible, we're open-minded. So if you want to build your own product on the Fundment API, it's fine. If you want to consume the Fundment reporting directly from us, that is good too. And if you want to sort of access Fundment through the back office systems that you integrated with, that is also fine by us. So
okay, so it's not a religious thing for you. You
because
I know for some it really does matter to them that the dwell time for the firm should be on your real estate as
I mean, as long as we make the distinction between client reporting and some other core platform services where they may still need to sort of interact with Fundment on the web, to do that makes sense. But in terms of reporting to the client, they could use the Fundment API today. Actually, it's not something that we're still building. It's there. You could use it right now if you want. Some people are already using that, but these are sort of the third-party, CRMs and back office systems, client portal. So those guys are already consuming Fundment API today, and advisors are welcome to take a look at it if that is an option.
Cool. Okay. We've got a specific in from Nick, who says, sorry if it's been covered already, but can the platform handle advisor-built models? So we did touch on that earlier, but no problem. He says, at first glance, the site seems to indicate Fundment does the investment management or portfolio construction. So maybe you can help Nick out.
Well, that is not entirely correct. You're welcome to run your own models if you want on Fundment, or outsource to someone else to do it. You're not by any means limited to whatever NPS that Fundment runs. Hope that's a good answer for Nick.
Yeah, you've got third-party NPS as well, haven't you?
We've got third-party NPS. We have the likes of Investec on the platform. EBI are going live very soon. We've got the chaps at Betafolio, some of you may know them. Very loud Abraham, very good guy. They're huge fans of Fundment over there. The
Sparrows, I know, have been on here before, and I think Sparrows.
Sparrow. Yeah, so there are, so we are there. If there's any particular DFM or investment manager you want to use, if we don't have a relationship with them, we go out, get it done, and then you'll be able to access them. Or if you just want to run the NPS strategy yourself, we give you access to everything, and you can go on and do that.
Cool. One last kind of industry issue, but it'll speak to something for Fundment as well, because there's a couple of guys asking about longevity and kind of exits, and I think they're just trying to work out what your thing is. Are you going to build this and then bugger off in a few years, or whatever?
Yeah.
Inside a hollowed out volcano, with on the little Austin Powers kind of mini train and all that kind of stuff. So loads of corporate activity going on in the market at the moment. Private equity steamrolling in. I mean, it's still not the dominant ownership form by any stretch, but only about 15% of the market is owned by PE. First of all, why do you think it's so attractive for PE, and why do you think there's so much of that activity going on at the moment?
Because it's a really, really good industry. It's an incredibly attractive sector. You mentioned earlier that over the last 20, 25 years or so of the wrap market industry, there is now about 500 billion that are being run in this sector. That is very, very attractive. However, if you look at the companies that have actually been able to, that everyone would accept, they are not just success for the advisors that are using it, but also for investors. There's a very few you could point to. Transact being obviously a notable example. So if you are a PE firm and you're looking, at places you could deploy capital, especially after COVID, where there's so much firepower that they've got, it doesn't you don't need to be a genius to realize there's a market to come into, because there are so many businesses there that perhaps haven't been managed as efficiently as they should have been managed, where they've not unlocked the value that should have been unlocked. And these guys are thinking they can come in, combine them, streamline their operation, maybe bring on new, back end and new technology provider, or perhaps even build it himself, and therefore deliver value that's not being unlocked within a sector. I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
And that's quite interesting, because that speaks to the thing you were saying earlier about some of the basics being broken, and that that's your sort of thing, is to want to try and fix that. And I think you're saying that PE is kind of, at least one form of PE is kind of aligned with that, in that if it was running better, PE might not be quite as interested. So it's not just about jacking into the income streams that are there already, or smashing some providers together and hoping for the best. It's about trying to do that classic PE thing, actually, of streamlining the businesses and
streamline the business,
make right in the weeds.
Yeah. Make them more efficient, make them more better managed, really. And ultimately, if they do that, deliver better shareholders outcome. Hopefully, for those firms, deliver good outcomes for advisors as well. But now, should advisors be worried by PE firms who are coming into the industry? That is not that question, because we don't know how. This is the first foray of these firms into the market, and there are people who are thinking they're going to come in, they're going to change pricing, they're going to, strip functionalities off, and so on. I think we have to wait and see how that develops. But in terms of our standpoint, we're backed ourselves by venture capital funds, the same sort of people that you see backing software companies in other sector are the same people putting money. So they generally are more entrepreneurial friendly. So when I say that, it means they invest. They don't typically own the company. They might just own 20-30% of it. They put significant amount of money into the business, and they led the founding team, in whom they're investing in the first place, myself and the rest of the chaps, to run the business for as long as we want to. Now, what would they want to do at some point? Of course, they may want an exit, but hopefully that is not for another 10, maybe 20 years from now. So we're in this for the long run. Is all I can say.
Cool. All right. Listen, we are at our time. We're actually over our time. So, we haven't even got on to stuff like white labeling and all that kind of thing that I wanted to do. So we might have to do another session another time. I don't know. But for now, that is all we have time for this week. Next week, we've got Richard Denning from Eccentric, so another platform we won next week. And quite looking forward to that. I've known Richard for a long time as well, so that'd be good fun. But a huge thanks to you, Ola. Always great value. Always love talking to you. Thanks to everybody for coming on as ever, and we'll see some of you next week. Lancat out.
All right. Thank you. Bye.